You don't have to be in a workbook every single day to get a thorough language arts program. Why not do it through a fun story that our kids are actually interested in? If you guys are looking for a way to add some really great children's literature into your homeschool, then I have something super fun to share with you. Over the last couple of years, my family and I have really been focusing on making our language arts more literature-based. I'll get into more detail about that in a minute, but now that my little ones are at the school age, I have some new great ideas to bring more picture books into our homeschool and to be intentional about them, to eliminate a language arts all-in-one workbook and focus on good books. And so I'm really excited to share that with you today. I want to take a few minutes to explain how we got here. And if you've watched some of my language arts videos in the past, I have a playlist called DIY Language Arts. If you've watched those, you get the gist of this. I'm setting this video with chapters, so if you want to skip through this part, you're more than welcome to do that. But let's kind of take it back a minute because you might be experiencing these same feelings. About 2.5 years ago, my oldest child was a 3rd grader. We were frustrated with writing and we were bored by language arts. I felt like every time we opened up that workbook, it was such a dread feeling. I mean, it was just busy work and repetition. And I remember her saying things like, why do I have to do this if I know it? And I felt the pressure like it had to be done because it was there. And it was frustrating. But in the meantime, through our history studies, we were reading such great books that were really just engaging us. And I thought to myself, that's what language arts should be. We should be engaged and wanting to get in these books and learn more about them. And that was when it kind of hit me that something is not right. So we tried a couple of different things. We first tried learning language arts through literature, and that ended up kind of being a flop. I made the mistake of not really getting into the novels and was just doing the workbook. So once again, I was just to a workbook. So I really think that was probably my fault. But I learned so much. I learned, wow, you can really take a chunk of a book and learn a lot from that one chunk. And then we also tried these guides from Brave Writer, if you've heard of those. And same thing, it was a great learning experience. It allowed me to see what can be done with a book. But the fault with that one, for me personally, was it was so much in, it would be one passage that you would look at and there was so many things that you had to choose from. And all those choices, I think, kind of overwhelmed me a little bit. But as I did those, my thought was, why can't I do this with any book that I want? They're the same patterns, they're doing the same type of things. If I take a novel and pull a passage out, we can do this too. And so that's how DIY Language Arts was born. We started with a novel and I would take a passage from it and I would pull all the aspects of language arts from it. Vocabulary, grammar, handwriting through copywork, spelling, and then we eventually added in some writing components as well. So we were reading a book that we enjoyed, and then while we did that, we were hitting everything that you need for language arts. And it was so freeing, and it was so lovely and fun. It was almost as if we became our own little book club in the house instead of doing these boring worksheets. We would read something and chat about it, and I could ask all the questions that I wanted to about the book with my child and understand what she's getting, right? I think that so many times we have a picture of what a classroom is, right? And in a classroom, there's all these students and a teacher has to assess them and make sure 20-some students are hitting certain benchmarks, right? Well, when it's the child in our home, I can do that by a conversation. And the conversation can take about 12 seconds. And it's amazing. I mean, reading comprehension. I can look at her and say, tell me about the chapter. And she'll tell me. Or I can say, oh, this word is interesting. Do you know what that means? That's vocabulary. By taking out certain passages, we could choose words for spelling. It was absolutely fantastic. And so we started that about 2.5 years ago, and we have gradually made it better and more fit for our family. And I've shared that journey on here. You can go back to those first videos, kind of see how we started, because it's changed a little bit. As I was thinking about next year, I originally thought, I'm just going to pair my little ones with us. They'll listen to the novel. They won't do all the things because they're not quite there yet. But then I thought to myself, wait a minute, I can do this same thing with picture books. And my mind just started spinning, and I thought, this is what we're going to do. And it would allow me to be more intentional with them, reading great picture books, but still being able to hit all the parts of language arts. And that's how my new picture book studies came to be. So I am so excited to share these with you guys. And this first one that I developed is absolutely free. So if you don't even want to hear me talk about it, you can just go and download it and see what exactly it is, and if it's something that you think you wanted to do. Now, I personally believe that you can use this solely as your language arts. If you understand the definition of language arts, and I explain it in this guide, if you really look at the definition of language arts, there are certain things that you have to touch on. Reading through these books and doing the activities that I give you is going to touch on every single one of those things. The only thing that this doesn't do is teach your child how to read. Okay, so if you are doing a reading program with your child, I fully believe that you can do this alone with that. Okay, if that made you uncomfortable, which I understand, you can definitely use this to supplement something that you enjoy. So for example, let's say you are doing an all-in-one and you want to bring in some good literature. You can add these to it, because the lessons are going to take you like 5 or 6 minutes. I mean, it's that simple. And I think that's kind of what makes people go, wait, what? What are we doing here? It's this simple? Yes, it's this simple. It's so simple. We're not in a classroom, people. We are sitting with our kids. We're enjoying books. We're having conversations. We're making connections. We're playing together. I'm going to get into that. And we are just digging deep into stories. And it doesn't take long. And with these one-on-one or one-on-2 or 3 children, or however many you have, it doesn't take a long time, and you can do it. So you can decide how you want to use it, but go and download it. It's free. In this picture book study, it is a 1-week study. And by 1 week, I mean a 4-day week, okay? So it's 4 days, and it's going to cover 1 picture book. That's it. You need 1 picture book. And if you are planning in advance, you can get this from the library. I would never expect you to buy all these books. So you'll be doing 1 picture book, and it'll be 4 days of study. Now, every picture book study is going to follow the same pattern. You're going to cover certain things on certain days. So once you do one of these or a couple of these, you could totally do this with whatever picture book you want. But I understand that could be a little daunting to find out. So what I have in this guide is exactly what to do for each day. Now, I realize that doesn't really follow the DIY part of this whole thing, but you are going to be able to make choices on your child and kind of change it to how you want. And then, like I said, once you get the hang of it, you will see the pattern to where you might want to do this on your own with a theme or a book of your own choosing. Let me walk you through this free picture book study so you can see exactly what it's about. When you first open up the guide, the first thing is a letter from me. This is basically just saying how I got here and how we originally did language arts with novels and how that transitioned to working with my younger children and bringing in picture books. The next thing I'm going to do is talk about language arts. And the reason I want to spend time on this is because, you know, when you do stuff like this, sometimes you start to question, is it enough? And so I really want to just thoroughly look at the definition of language arts to make sure we understand the clear definition and what it actually means, so that when we are doing these activities, we can be confident that we are reaching all of these different skills. And that's what this chart is here. The last thing I point out is a question that I think a lot of people might have is, can I really just use this for language arts? As long as you are still working on phonics and reading skills, this can go right alongside with it. Next, we're going to look into how to use this guide. This is the pattern for the schedule. You're kind of focusing on one thing each day. So day 1, you're reading the picture book with narration. Day 2, you are introducing the passage and looking at vocabulary and spelling. Day 3, you're going to focus on grammar, and then you have the option to do an activity outside. And then day 4, you have a bonus activity option. So as you go through this, I will just explain each part in detail of what it is. And so I'll just kind of flip through so you can see what this is. All right, so then at the end, I've got a little checklist for how to plan your unit. These are 1-week units. And so it kind of just walks you through the process of how to get it set up. The picture book, some writing supplies that are needed, and then what you might need for these extra activities. So then we get into our week. Each day has everything you need on it. So this is day 1, and we've got our passage. This is the same passage we will be looking at the entire week. And then we have this same schedule checklist that we saw at the beginning. On day 1, I give you a summary of the book and some discussion questions. These are all just optional tools for you. The book summary is not supposed to be like a narration example or anything. It is literally just a tool for you to see what the book is about. And then these discussion questions, a lot may be in the narrations that they give you, but some of them I kind of like to go a little bit further and have them, think about their own thoughts, take a stand on something, just some higher thinking questions. For example, what lesson can we learn from the goats in this story? There's not really a solid answer, but it gets them thinking. On day 2, we introduce the passage, and in these guides, I have those questions for you. So once you read the passage, I guide you through some questions to give your child to talk a little bit about what this passage is, and just to kind of get their minds thinking about the story. And then down here we have spelling options and the vocabulary words, and all of these words come from this passage. Spelling option A, this is for somebody that's just starting out spelling. Honestly, I probably wouldn't start spelling until the 1st grade level, but I think that everybody has the choice on when they want to do that. But the words are going to be like your first basic words, a beginner speller. Maybe it could be somebody that's struggling with spelling, and this is kind of just good foundational practice. Then you have option B, which has words right here. Now, these words here are just from the first part of the passage, and these words are from the majority of the passage. And these are going to be a little bit more challenging. Now, you do not have to use these lists. These lists are here for you as an option. You can pick and choose any words you want, but the point is the words come from the passage. And this is just to kind of guide you in that process. The same thing goes with vocabulary. You don't have to use all these words, but these words do come from the passage. You will also be reading the book together and experiencing a lot more vocabulary that you can be discussing as you read it. Next, we move to day 3, which is our grammar day. For grammar, there are a couple of focus things. There are so many things that you could do with this passage. Just looking at it right now, I can see a capital letter, I can see periods, I can see commas. There's going to be adjectives, there's going to be nouns, there's going to be verbs, there's going to be prepositions. There's so many things. And I kind of explain that here, but I just kind of want to give you a focus. And at this beginning level, we're really just trying to introduce different grammar skills. And so I kind of show you what you can do. And then I give you a little challenge option for your child that maybe has some experience with grammar or is ready to be challenged in that way. The last thing on day 3 is a way to get outside. So it's just an activity to get your kids outdoors in nature learning. In this example, it's a game. And these are optional. These are just fun, but I love activities like this that are really simple, and it's just having a good time, and it really helps you to connect with your children over a fun story. And so these are just an option here. It doesn't necessarily have to be done on day 3, but it's just there for you to decide upon. Next, we move into day 4, which is the last day of this guide, and there's a bonus activity. So for this story in particular, you're doing goat's milk snack and tea. So it literally just
is an opportunity for you to try different foods, maybe that you don't usually eat. And it's just a fun way to once again experience different parts of the story together. Then we get into the spelling activities. Each week, when you introduce the spelling words that I went over right here, you have the option of doing a spelling activity, and I give you all of these different ones, and you can just pick one to do in the week to review those words. Some of them are super simple, like just a pre-test, and others are a little more involved. This is a blown up version of the passage, so if you wanted to look at it and maybe circle some things or underline some things, you had the option to do so. Then we get into our copy work. I've made these simple little worksheets for your youngest children. It's basically just practicing one letter, the capital and the lowercase, and maybe a word that starts with it. And then you have the option of drawing something that starts with that letter, or maybe just drawing a picture of the story that you read. So this is just very low-key, simple for your youngest ones. Then when you level up from just letter tracing, then you can get into the copywork option. This is the shorter version of the passage. So if you look at the passage, this is the first sentence. And so it's just kind of an opportunity for your young ones to start copywork in a simple way. And I've got these handwriting lines for you to begin doing that. In the guide, I do have some options for copywork. If you look here, it kind of shows you how you can do it, starting with your youngest ones, eventually working your way up to the full copywork. So we've got letter tracing, and then maybe you just want to take some words from the passage. And then if you wanted to, you can do the shorter passage, but if you write on every other line, it kind of gives them some support, shaping their letters and their words. This is a cursive example, but you could obviously do it in print. And then finally, you have the full passage that you can work up to, maybe doing one sentence and then 2 and 3 and so on. So these are the examples of those copyworks. This is the shorter version. And then here we have the full copywork on just some lines that you could do as well. So you may have a child that doesn't get to this section, and that's fine. This is not, you're not ultimately trying to get here. The point of these guides is to work with your children and to meet them at their level. Then finally, we just kind of have some notes about where I get my information, and then a simple thank you and how to find more information about these guides.
So what I'm really excited to share with you in this video is where is this gonna go? My plan is I'm going to create monthly units to do with my children. So starting in August, we will do a theme, and then for 4 weeks. And then moving into September, we'll do another theme. My hope is to share these with you guys. My first picture book study bundle is actually already available. It's on camping. And it's not all of these books, it's just 4 of them, but I'm just so excited to share them with you. This is the bundle that my children and I will be working on in August. My youngest children, but I promise you, I know my oldest are gonna listen to these stories too. But we are gonna be working on camping. My hope is to be providing more themes for the school year. So September will have a new theme, October, November, December. If there's interest, I will definitely keep going January through the end of the year so that you could potentially have a whole year of picture book study, which is absolutely incredible. So that is my goal. I will link this camping bundle for you so you can check it out. I should show you the books. These are the 4 books for the camping bundle, and we have this camping book, and you're gonna get a different camping experience in all of them, okay? So this is a great one. Then we're gonna get into a little history as we read about President Theodore Roosevelt and his trip to Yosemite. This next one is called Into the Outdoors by Susan Gall. And I love this one because if you pay attention to the pictures, you've got this little crew of animals following them around. So that's really fun for littles. And then this one here is A Camping Spree with Mr. McGee. And what's funny is my kids recognize this art immediately because this book was written by Chris Van Dusen. And if you know that name, he wrote he drew the pictures for the Mercy Watson series, and my kids love his art. And this is just a very silly story. So these are the 4 books in the bundle that is available. So like I said, there will be a monthly theme for August, September, October, November, December. And then as long as I see, okay, people are enjoying this, then I'll keep creating them. It does take time for me to put them together. So, I just want to make sure that that interest is there. And if so, then I'll continue. But how wonderful to be adding these picture books to our homes. Is it necessary to break down a picture book and look at past? No, it's not. But the point is, you don't have to be in a workbook every single day to get a thorough language arts program. Why not do it through a fun story that our kids are actually interested in? On this same note, I will tell you, I have novel guides available as well it's for the whole family, but maybe this is what you want to do. Maybe this might be a stepping stone, doing a picture book study first, and then as your kids get a little bit older, you can jump into these novel guides. The novel guides have been available for a while, but they got a new look. And so they look so pretty too. And what's exciting is in the last novel guide, I kind of gave you some options for grammar. In the newer ones, I'm giving you a grammar focus. I've decided to do that. I made the decision for you. I'm going to tell you what grammar to study when you look at these passages. So if you're familiar with that, you can go and check that out. The newest one available is Miss Frisbee and the Rats of Nim, which is a great novel, really fun, especially if you have animal lovers in your home. So lots of literature to look through. If you're thinking about what you want to do for language arts and you're just really wanting to kind of have some more freedom, or if you are just wanting to add more literature to your day, this is a great way to do that. And like I said, the camping bundle is available to purchase, but I have a complete free picture book study that they're all set up with the same pattern. You can download it and try it out with your family and see if it's a good fit. See if it's something that you would want to incorporate into your homeschool. So if you have any questions about these, you can leave them in the comments, and definitely come back and tell me if you tried it out and if you like it. I love to hear from you guys. I'm getting so many messages about the novel guides, and that just brings me so much joy, because doing this style of language arts has really been such a blessing to our family, and I'm so happy to hear that it's been good for y'all too.